Okay, man, so the intention of this video is to make some resources to help you transition from porn, from OnlyFans, from, excessive online use to having a healthy relationship with your sexuality again. So my name's Matthew Bruce. I'm a transformational coach. I used pornography for a number of years, prostitutes for a number of years. A lot of that come from trauma after the military. Served in the Australian Army for 10 years. Sorry, I got a bit of chai in my throat. And I was a support staff member in the Special Forces as well. So, when I come back from overseas, from Afghanistan, I was definitely using prostitutes and porn as a coping mechanism. So I went on to study in intimacy schools and sexuality schools to the point where I am a qualified somatic sexologist and have been a male facilitator in global sexuality schools for men and women as well. So this video is the first steps of how you can start to transition. Now, you may have seen this on some of my posts online that porn is not the problem, it's a symptom, okay? We need to look at ourselves like a garden, and we need to start to tend to the garden, which is aka our life, our mind, our body, our spirit, and make change for that, okay? So when we have a healthy garden, porn won't exist. When one of our plants starts to die or we don't have enough water in here, our coping strategies might come back up again as well too. So, we just really need to get our head around the fact that porn is not necessarily the problem. It's actually masking something. It's a symptom. And what we want to do is get to the bottom of everything else, okay? So a lot of this is not going to be, talk therapy or you needing to do anything. This is literally going to be you educating yourself and running an experiment for yourself that works, okay? I'm not here to teach you dogma. I'm not here to tell you how to be. I'm not here to preach. I'm just here to lay out some information for you to have an experience with. If it feels alive for you, if it lands and that feels real for you, amazing, give it a go. So the first thing in this video is around the nervous system. The nervous system is basically how we are operating in a sense of our heart. Is it in sync? Okay. So let's just say our heart rate variability is basically our heartbeats, and the more variable they are, the more in sync we are, okay? We have a kind of sporadic heartbeat. That's basically an indicator that our mind and our head are in sync. And this is basically our heart is happy. And our heart is happy because what we're in like a part of our parasympathetic nervous system. So, our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system are part of our automatic nervous system, which, connects into our central nervous system. So that's a lot of language, a lot of science. And basically what we really need to know is that we need to be creating space for rest in our life, okay? If we've had trauma, if we've had a difficult a family environment that we grew up in, if we've been to war, if we're living in a tight space, if we're a new dad who's just been given the fear of life, they need to take care of this child, there is a highly likely chance that you're operating from a place of sympathetic nervous system. So let's just think of this as kind of like fight, flight, and this as rest and digest, okay? Now, these representations or language that we're using to explain the nervous system can also be used as the air element in Ayurveda, the Vata, and also traditional Chinese medicine would have a different way of describing this as well. But there are multiple different systems that we can use, Western, Eastern, to kind of look at this particular part of the mind, body, spirit that we're trying to influence, okay? So meditation is really key. Breath work is really key. If you're really struggling to meditate and to do breath work, etc., then that's okay. That just means we need to layer on more resources. So if you're like, I've tried meditation, doesn't really work for me, I don't feel much. I just had one of these clients maybe start with me 8 weeks ago. And by the end of the 8 weeks, great meditator, totally shifted his whole personality, shifted the way that he was interacting with his kids, his wife, and everything. So it is possible, regardless if you have beliefs or stories or you're challenged in your own mindset around meditation and breath work and these things, consistency is the key. I'd say also the other key is to use nature. Nature is a really big part of regulating our central nervous system. The way that our cortisol and our melatonin and these kind of critical endocrine neurotransmitters and hormones are actually operating within the body is super important. So, as we wake up in the morning, our cortisol spikes as the sun rises, and then it goes down over nighttime, and our melatonin is produced to go to sleep. Okay. Now, if we don't have this particular process that's happening automatically within the body working, that's basically showing you that the automatic nervous system, so your stress, your fight or flight, your inability to be resting, is influencing this particular process that's happening in the body. So I'll say that again. When we wake up in the morning, our cortisol spikes. This is good. We don't want it to spike too high. We want it to spike to a good level. And then as the day goes on, it slowly comes down and our melatonin produces, and this is what helps us sleep, okay? So these are some of the critical processes that we need to look at to get our nervous system under control, okay? So meditation, breath work, are really going to allow us to calm the mind and come back into the body. Using herbs such as microdosing psilocybin, blue lotus, and motherwort tea. These are 3 allies that you can use to help this process. I have a microdosing school. I think it's great for helping men change habits and to relax and come back into their parasympathetic nervous system. That's a whole lot of video conversation itself. But starting a meditation practice, I can recommend a few apps in the notes as well, and I can recommend these herbs below as well too. So check them in the notes of this particular YouTube video, okay? So why am I banging on about the nervous system so much, okay? The part of our brain that is operating in fight or flight. So we have a particular gland in our brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is basically regulating our fight or flight response. So we can have fight, flight, fawn, freeze, but we can also have feed and fawnacate. So, when we're in such a continual pattern within inside of our amygdala, so whether we're in a stuck fight response or a stuck flight or freeze, these can have long-term impacts, and they can actually show up as feed or fawnacate and kind of like change into hybridness. So, we know that our porn use as men, or our, over-consuming online content, is not us in our power. There's something up, okay? And as I said before, it's not the problem, it's a symptom. But what we need to do is create a grounded reality, or grounded household, grounded existence for ourselves. And if you don't know where to start, this is the key, okay? So I'm really going to lay it out quite simply as to, what the gold standard of your day could look like to support you to get off porn, okay? It would mean that you would set your alarm to get up just before the sun rises. It means that you would get outside and put your feet in the grass for a little bit and watch the sunrise, okay? Just sit there and allow the sun to, come into your body. You would go back inside. You would drink some water and hydrate, maybe have a little bit of lime water. You would then sit down and use the One Giant Mind app, which is a meditation app that I'll put in the notes as well. After your 20 to 30 minute meditation practice is complete, you would do some breath work, so some open mouth connected breathing. I'll also put this in the notes as well. Basically that, with a walk around the block or some kind of exercise or movement, is going to be a really great start to start you off for success. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, I do all of those things, I'm still watching porn, great. You're just a little bit further down the path, and yours could be more related to sexual shame or some kind of your sexuality that you need to hear. But we're starting off with the nervous system, and we all really need to start somewhere. So if you've already got those embedded, amazing. I'll answer some more reasons as to why you could be having this dysfunction show up for you in other videos as well, okay? So I just want to say, it's not the problem, it's a symptom. We don't really want to shame or judge ourselves. We'll speak about this in other videos of how we can share this with our partner and really free ourselves of the shame, etc. And, you know, I guess the most important thing is that, you know, if you're watching this, you want to make change, that you start to choose a new reality. You know, we really need to make a choice and see a new version for ourselves, see a new reality. So, you know, closing down our eyes, witnessing a version of ourselves in maybe 3-6 months time from now, feeling in our body just how healthy we feel, how strong we look, how much color we have in our face. Just really calling that in, really choosing that, really making that a reality, you know, and then watching these videos to get an understanding of what's next. So you can open up your eyes. You know, I hope you've got a little bit out of this. We'll be doing some more long form YouTube videos for you to really get on top of what might be causing your dysfunction and what might be causing you to watch too much porn, and look forward to connecting with you in the next video.